today's World Insight. China's contribution to the ABCs of the world's basic to advanced sciences, according to multi-awarded Chinese mathematician Shing-Tung Yau of Tsinghua University, who's the chairman of the International Congress of Basic Science. His thoughts on the next generation mathematicians and physicists and the rapid advance of artificial intelligence.
Hello and welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei. Science knows no borders. Shing-Tung Yau, chair professor at Tsinghua University, who now serves as chairman of the International Congress of Basic Science, is putting those words into realities when he, together with his team and supporters, work to make the annual meeting of the International Congress of Basic Science a significant event to celebrate mathematics, theoretical physics, and theoretical computer and information science. Knowing the charm of basic science himself, as Professor Yau is well known for his contributions to mathematics, physics, and therefore is a recipient of Fields Medal and many other honors. Yau also understands the importance of cooperation and being each other's inspirations as scientists. In an exclusive interview with me recently, he also shares his devotion to nurture the next generation of mathematicians. When I talked to him, he was busy with his team in his office preparing for all the details of the upcoming International Congress of Basic Science to be held in Beijing. Professor Yau, what a pleasure to see you.
Yeah.
The upcoming International Congress of Basic Science, I know you put a lot of efforts into it. I was extremely fascinated last year, the very first one, by the enthusiasm among the scientists when they are interacting with one another. How did you manage to create an ambience that enabled them to do exactly that?
I was really excited to learn things that I did not know before when people come all over from different countries, from America, from Germany, from Switzerland. And there are things that I may learn a little bit before, but after listening to the professor who create those subjects, I found it fascinating. And then I can ask them questions, and I see student was excited about it. Student was sitting down there taking notes and asking questions. And I think this is really an ideal environment for interchange of ideas between scientists and beginners. And some people know some other subject very well. And they are very surprised when they found other branches of mathematics or physics are doing things which is not too far from their own subject. And here we have a platform, they can ask questions, they can communicate. I think that's very important.
As a mathematician,
yes,
you have been recently very productive in bringing to the public some books in order to illustrate your understanding of the charm of mathematics, and also compare circumstances of research and innovation regarding mathematics.
Well, mathematics is actually the foundation of modern science in every respect. In the old days, mostly in physics, theoretical physics, but nowadays in applied science, like artificial intelligence or many things related to computer, and even now into biology or into material science, mathematics are actually the basic of most of this modern development in science. One of my recent books is about gravity, where I make some contribution, and this is the work of Einstein, but actually many people ignore or did not realize that mathematicians play a very important role in Einstein's formulation of gravity. The Einstein equation was developed by consulting many mathematicians, all the way go to the 19th century, where Riemann proposed something called Riemannian geometry, and that was actually a basic for Einstein's gravity. And In the last 50 years, we saw a close collaboration between physicists and mathematicians. We benefit from each other extensively. For one thing, besides gravity, I work on string theory, where they use the manifold I create, which is called Calabi-Yau manifold. And to my surprise, when I work on this subject, it was purely for mathematical reasons, although it was inspired by general relativity, but majorly it's a work in mathematics. A great surprise to me, around 1984, after 8 years of my creation of those manifolds, the physicists found that important in the development of string theory. Now this is good, so I make some contribution in some way, but without the physicists, I don't think we can develop the theory so far. But now, after 40 years, it becomes a very important subject and across many different fields. One of the major reasons is that physicists actually contribute a tremendous ideas to these subjects. If mathematician was working on this subject alone, I don't think we can get that far.
But for scientists to understand the others,
yes,
and be able to pick up the real essence and be able to smell it, and then follow the root, follow the smell, right? That is really a tremendous ability.
Absolutely. Sometimes we work peacefully, sometimes we argue with each other. Both sides are important. I remember 30 years ago, a subject called meaner symmetry appeared in string theory, and they were able to predict something that mathematicians want to solve for a long time. But we didn't believe their proof because they argue based on some physical intuition. We don't quite believe it because mathematicians want to work on something in a very rigorous foundation. And so I arranged a seminar to work for 5 days. And I remember there's a discrepancy that we create. The physicists come up with some number when the mathematicians come up with a different number. Yeah. So we argue. We kind of curse each other. How can you say that? It's clearly you're wrong.
I wish I were in the room.
Oh, it was exciting, and I was in charge of both sides, so I had to calm down both sides. And this last, even after the conference, the debate goes on, and after 3 months, the mathematicians who were so proud of themselves, thinking that they are rigorous, found a mistake in their programming. They were not even wrong, it's just the program they wrote was wrong. And then after correct the program, they found the number come out to be exactly the same number. And this is a long, big number, it's not a small number. So this is very good because there's an argument and then there's inconsistency and people debate about it. At the end, you come up to a common idea that is right. And then we start to create a new branch of mathematics based on this kind of debate. And I think it's fascinating.
How do you see these kinds of chemistry among scientists yourself? I mean, camaraderie, cooperation, and certain competition, and even what some describe at times a rivalry, you know?
Competition, rivalry, as long as it's healthy, is very good.
How would you interpret healthy, though?
You don't steal ideas from others. As long as you come up with something, I feel I can do better than you. I can find a new idea or new direction or new method. I can be better than you. And you look at my method, you find that my method has some problem, not necessarily wrong, but you can improve it, and then you improve it. And you let me know, and then we compete again.
For the benefits of whom?
Well, for science in general. Because then there are many obstacles that we had to try to solve a problem is now removed. And now we remove it, then we can develop much further. And the development could be very important for the technology or science or technology that are beneficial to mankind.
Do you think politicians have a lot to learn from you scientists?
Well, if they look at it constructively, I think they will benefit a lot. But what they look at is for their power or benefits for their own party. That's all they care, unfortunately. If that's all they care, it will be destructive. If they care about the benefits for the country or for mankind, I think this will be excellent.
So it has a lot to do with the end goals.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
Having said that, though, these days artificial intelligence has become, the buzzword everywhere, right?
Yeah.
How do you look at the realities of AI and people's, common folks on the streets understanding of AI vis-a-vis AI in the eyes of a scientist like you?
Well, AI may not be as powerful as what the newspaper says, but it does bring in a lot of important advance in science and technology. There's no question about it. And they may not be able to create new concepts, which is needed badly in science in general, creative ideas. So far, I don't think AI is able to do that. But they were able to bring in a lot of technology that can overcome what we could not do.
Yes.
Especially on computation, which involve many, many parameters. They are talking about billions and billions of parameters now. And this is something that human beings had a hard time to handle. It is also essential for the development of new industry that is appearing. And I think all countries should spend some time to learn AI. But to say that it will replace humans, I don't believe it.
Why not?
Well, for a human society to really grow nicely in a healthy way, we need new concepts. For example, and I don't believe AI could create quantum mechanics, which is a brand new concept. After we digest it enough, AI may be able to come in. But I don't believe AI could create new concepts, at least not for the next 100 years.
What is the genuine, ambience that would encourage the development of basic science? How would you look at the current stage of basic science development worldwide compared to what you consider as some of the so-called best times, the most flourishing times of basic science?
Creative idea is always needed. And of course, 19th century, 18th century, the Greek men, fantastic, important men like Gauss, like Riemann, they create subjects that we are still learning. But I think starting around 1940s or so, science, mathematics at least, has flourishing in a major manner with many people coming in from different fields, and including information science, including computer science. It was developed in the 1940s. But now, of course, everybody using computer extensively. So they have been very important for mathematics development in mathematics, and especially for engineer type technology, because a lot of problems in engineer or in physics, the equations cannot be solved easily, and we use the machine to help us to solve it. This has been extremely important. But on the other hand, conceptual understanding of all these subjects are not much better now compared with the 1970s or 1980s. So I think thinking, creative thinking, is still always an important part of science. Curiosity-driven science has to be always there.
Professor Yau, you're a witness of history. I mean, you understood where China were even before the PRC was founded.
Yeah.
You also understood how it was like at the very early stage of PRC leading up to later the Cold War.
Yeah.
And also reform and opening up.
Yes.
After decades of reform and opening up, where China is and today's apparent competition amongst so-called the big powers of the world. So as a scientist going through all these waves of history, how do you look at, how questions and science development is being shaped today?
I grew up in Hong Kong. My father was a professor. I grew up in poverty, and it was extremely painful to be able to learn because we don't have means to learn. We are poor, we don't have a library, and we struggle for a long, long time to learn what's going on in the world. I think it's very admirable to see all these scientists and engineers to be produced during this period of time in the 1950s, and they struggle, they learn, and they learn fast. But still, we are lagging behind, and I think there are many accusations back and forth is not fair. I think that
Accusation of what?
well,
about
accusations
China?
of China, China blocking China and all that.
You mean the rhetorics against China?
Right,
Yeah.
right. And Chinese learn a lot from America and from Europe too. But we were kicked, to be frank, by the foreigners for a long, long time, for over 100 years. Some of them had no choice. Despite all this, I think the Chinese scientists and Chinese engineers learn humbly, work very hard, and they has create, contributing to the science in America and in Europe. And this we cannot ignore. They may not be, at the beginning, they may not be the major contributors, but they are getting to be very important partners of America. Many of the students, many of the scientists in America are Chinese origin. For example, I myself, I learned very little in Hong Kong about mathematics or science when I was in Hong Kong before 1969. After 1969, I arrived in Berkeley. I see the great world of science. I know what mathematics is in the whole world. I learn very fast, and I contribute to American science also. But I have to say that I owe a great deal to America for helping me to shape me as a scientist. And this is very good cooperation because I did make a reasonable contribution to American science, and I helped to train many students in America. I've trained close to 70 PhD students in American universities, including Stanford, including Harvard, including other universities. So I think this cooperation has been very productive.
And now you're in China, in Tsinghua University, also trying to contribute.
Right, I'm also contributing to China. I feel good that I contribute to all these places because this is important for the peace of mankind and for the science for its own sake.
Professor, I'm always curious, given your decades of research, how do you stay updated on the latest?
Well,
for example, when you are trying to organize this international congress on basic science, you have to know some of the forerunners in different fields and also try to create a chemistry in which they can interact together. That takes a lot of energy to understand the latest.
Well, fortunately, I've been in the field for 50 years, and I work in both math and physics, and also some technology. And I know many of these people, and fortunately, people respect me. And so when I ask them opinions, they feel that I can be trusted, and so I would be able to get some of this very best mind to help, and they come, and they also feel that they can get something out of these conferences. So I think it's very important that when you do something, you have to make the participant to feel they gain something also, not in terms of money, but in terms of scientific establishment, scientific ideas. And I think this is the most important part. That's why I run all this conference, always has to emphasize on science and technology and also mathematics behind it.
Right.
Once they know they can learn something in that way, they are much more willing to come. There are many places, they run big conferences based on money. I offer you so much money, and they got tired of it. We work in science not because of money, we work on it because of our curiosity. I think this is a very important point that we would emphasize.
There has been a lot of energy in cultivating young talents, whether it is competition about mathematics or creating ecosystem for young people to participate from mathematics to, to entrepreneurship, and the list goes on. What do you think is the key here, Professor, as a scientist yourself and as a young scientist at the time? I'm sure you remember how your way of, what is most important to you?
Well, most important to me is to train these young students, to pick up the talent students, to understand what is the best way to understand nature, how to get the basic technology. Many of people thought that you could be just a genius, then you learn something instantly. But that's far away from true. You need to be trained in a solid way, and I need to train them in a solid way. But at the same time, to think about how to train being creatively. And the creativity doesn't come to you just like that. I mean, that's just fall from sky. Many people thought that, I'm a genius. God give me the talent, then I overcome. It doesn't work in that way. You need to think deeply, and I want to help the youngsters to think about what to do in the future, how to make use of their knowledge to create and to pioneer some directions. And we need them to learn from the great masters. That's why we have this conference also. One other important thing, there are about a large number of scientists coming. These are all great leaders, and I want the youngsters to come and to look at them, to listen to them, to see what they're learning directly, and then they will feel differently. Right. This creativity has to be inspired by looking at the great masters too.
Right. You heard from time to time, Professor, mathematicians are being made heroes, national heroes. Chen Jingren, for example, back in the 1970s for China.
Only in China.
Only in China, of course. Yeah. And then you also recently see different kinds of national competition for young talents, and some talents are being made the big names in the press, being hyped. Of course, there are different debates whether they're real talents or not. Just put those things aside. How do you see these kind of atmosphere? What is really, contributing? What it can really make a young talent a talent?
Talking about national competition or even world competition, professional mathematician doesn't care about it at all, because it's far away from relevant. If I can give you a problem and you solve it, clearly I'm much better than you. So,
because I can give you the problem, right?
Yeah, right. So all this competition, the problems are given by a group of mathematicians. This group of mathematicians is in charge of you, not the other way around. So this is only a mean to help the students to learn. It's never to be the ultimate goal. But it's easier to talk about the winners, because the news media can pinpoint who is the winner, who is what. So this doesn't make sense for professional mathematicians. We have some goal to understand nature, what kind of creation, what kind of obstacle we remove. All these are the important criteria. Not solving some well-known problem that we know already. So the competition is just very, very beginning.
Right.
Just like a baby start to be able to crawl around,
Right.
and not the same as creating a new subject.
Right. Professor Yau, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your time.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. That's my latest exclusive interview with Shing-Tung Yau, professor from Tsinghua University, who's also the chair of the International Congress of Basic Science. That's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to know more, search World Insight or check out our YouTube channel. Follow us on X and Facebook. I'm Tian Wei on behalf of my team. Thanks for being with us. Bye for now.